The wall runs for hundreds of feet along the summit, dry-laid stone gone soft with lichen, already ancient when the first settlers ever climbed up to find it. Across Appalachia, there are dozens more like it, real stone forts, standing on ridgelines and river bluffs, named forts by people who had no idea who stacked them. In the hardest cases, after 2 centuries of digging, nobody knows yet. And the strangest wall of all, the one waiting at the end, sits where no fort should ever be, and it still won't say what it was for. Number 18. The wall that beat the pioneers. Fort Mountain, Chatsworth, Murray County, Georgia. Start at the summit of Fort Mountain, in Georgia's northwest corner, where the Cohutta Range breaks toward the plateau. About 2,800 feet up, an 855-foot wall of stacked stone snakes across the high ground in a serpentine zigzag, pitted with shallow depressions along its length. When white settlers first climbed up, it was already weathered, already old, already unexplained. They called it a fort, and the name took the whole mountain with it. Today there's signage, a hiking loop, and a stone tower every camera turns toward, except that tower is a 1930s Civilian Conservation Corps build, barely older than your grandparents. The wall beside it is the real thing, and fort was only ever a guess. The likelier story is woodland period ceremonial or observational use. Cherokee oral tradition speaks of moon-eyed people who came before, legend, not archaeology, and worth flagging as such. What's solid? The wall is real, not precisely dated, and its builders genuinely disputed. The newest thing up here is the fake-looking tower. The oldest is the wall people walk right past. Number 17. The fort that never fought. Fort Ancient, Oregonia, Warren County, Ohio. 18,000 feet of wall, and not 1 foot of it ever stopped an enemy. Follow the Little Miami River to a bluff in southwest Ohio, and you can walk a mounded ring of earth and stone enclosing more than 100 acres above the water. Settlers saw that much barrier and did the obvious thing. They called it a fort. The name spread past the site and onto the map. A whole later people who lived here centuries after the walls went up still get called the Fort Ancient culture, but they didn't build this. The enclosure is Hopewell, older, and the fort label was wrong for both. Study the gateways and you see why. The openings don't face threats, they face the sky, placed to track solar and lunar events. The alignments are documented. The defensive reading is rejected by the people who've actually dug here. The misnomer has stood 2 centuries. We named an observatory after a battle it never had. Number 16. The Wall 2 Rivers Guard. Old Stone Fort, Manchester area, Coffee County, Tennessee. In Middle Tennessee, the 2 forks of the Duck River nearly pinch off a 50-acre spur of land. And across the one narrow neck, the only easy way in, runs a wall. On every other side, the rivers do the defending. Settlers named it the Old Stone Fort and assumed a siege. Then they looked inside and found nothing to defend. No weapons, no houses, no sign anyone fought or lived here. What excavation did find was age, roughly 2,000 years, middle woodland, and geometry. The main gateway aligns to sunrise on the summer solstice. This was a place to stand on one specific morning and watch the year turn, not a place to survive an attack. The dates are confirmed. The ceremonial reading is the accepted theory. 2 rivers did the guarding. The wall was for something the sky decided. 3 forts, and not one ever fought. That's the easy, signposted state park layer, and it ends right here. If you want the whole map, though, every wall in this video, plus the ones with no ranger, no sign, no parking lot, it's gathered in a guide called the Appalachian Mysteries Collection, linked below. It'll be there when you're done. For now, leave it alone and stay with me, because everything past this point drops off the brochure, and the wall waiting at number 1 won't even tell us what it was for. Number 15, The wall's off every map. Stone wall complexes, Blue Ridge, Oconee County, South Carolina region. There's no sign, no ranger, no parking lot. That's the first strange thing. Up in the Blue Ridge escarpment of upstate South Carolina, you push through mountain laurel until you trip over a low, collapsed line of stacked stone on the high ground. And no map you're carrying knows it's here. Locals give the reasonable answer. Old property lines, livestock walls, some are. But others crest steep, useless ridges no farmer would waste a day fencing. A few appear to predate colonial land grants entirely, and that's where the tidy story cracks. Indigenous or early colonial? The dating's incomplete and the attribution is genuinely open. This isn't an answer I'm holding back, it's an answer nobody has. The map ends, the walls keep going. Number 14, the wall. The cliff finished. Rock shelter enclosures, Appalachian Plateau, West Virginia. Here's the contradiction. It's half wall, half cliff, and the two halves are 1,000 years apart. In the West Virginia highlands, builders let a sandstone escarpment do most of the work, and simply stacked stone across the gaps to seal a natural shelter. The easy read is recent, a pioneer refuge, a moonshiner's hideout. And people did use these that way, but some of the coursing sits under lichen far too old for any still weathering since long before Prohibition. What the record shows is reuse, layered across centuries, late prehistoric through historic, the same defensible gap pulling in different people in different eras. Nobody built it once, and the single builder story is rejected. The same wall hid strangers 1,000 years apart. Number 13, the wall beside the Overlook Hilltop Enclosure, Blue Ridge Parkway Corridor, North Carolina. Millions drive past it every year, and almost none of them see it. In the North Carolina Blue Ridge, near one of the most traveled scenic roads in America, crowds pull off to photograph the ridgelines and leave. 200 yards off the trail sits worked stone. Nobody points a camera at. The parkway was routed in the 1930s for one thing, the view. Chase the prettiest corridor, thread the best overlooks. And in doing it, planners ran the road straight past indigenous stonework, the route never signed or interpreted. The site is real. The framing that planners looked past it is documented. So the crowds come for the scenery and miss the older reason someone first chose to stand on this exact spot. That's the last of the walls you can reach from a car. Past here, they hide under leaf litter, inside arguments over dates, out beyond the last road, and the builders' names get harder to say with every step. Number 1 is where saying them stops entirely. Number 12, the race that never existed, historiography, Ohio Valley, and West Virginia, mounds and walls. For nearly 100 years, Americans looked at these walls and refused the obvious builders. Antiquarians sketched the earthworks, measured them, marveled, and credited them to a vanished race of white mound builders supposedly wiped out by the ancestors of living Native Americans. It filled the books. It was taught as fact. The myth wasn't harmless. If a lost superior race had built these wonders and been destroyed by indigenous people, then removing those same people from their land became a kind of justice. The fantasy erased native authorship and helped clear the ground for taking it. In 1894, the Smithsonian's Cyrus Thomas published a report that dismantled the theory, showing the earthworks were built by the ancestors of Native Americans. No lost race required. That part is settled history. But dismantling the myth didn't date the walls. Many of them are still, right now, undated and unattributed. And the deeper into this list we go, the less anyone can say for certain who built what. Number 11, the river older than mountains Bluff Enclosure, New River Watershed, Virginia and West Virginia. The wall watches a river that is not where it used to be. Along the New River on the Virginia and West Virginia line, A defensive-looking enclosure sits on a bluff, positioned, you would assume, to guard the corridor of movement in the gorge below. But the New River is a trap for assumptions. Despite the name, it is among the oldest rivers on Earth, and its course and valley floor have shifted across immense stretches of time. The view the wall commands now is not the view its builders knew. That drags the site into deep time. The enclosure was raised against terrain older, in its bones, than the Appalachians' present shape. The river's antiquity is confirmed geology. The builder's intent stays theory. The wall is ancient. The river it watches is older than the mountains around it. Number 10. The wall only locals knew. Community-known wall site, Eastern Kentucky, Appalachian coal fields. 3 generations of one hauler could walk straight to it, and no archaeologist ever logged it. In the coalfield ridges of eastern Kentucky, a family will point up a strip-mined slope to a stretch of stone still standing where the machines never reached. Official survey coverage runs thin here. The region got branded by coal, and the record followed the money and the roads, which mostly meant it never came. So community memory ran out ahead of the official one. The flip side is loss. Where documentation never arrived and mining did, some sites vanished before anyone recorded them. A well-documented pattern, even when the specific losses aren't. The local knowledge is real, and worth naming as exactly that. These walls were kept by the people who never needed them on a map. 10 walls down and the ground only gets stranger from here. What's left isn't the tallest stone or the prettiest. It's the walls where the dates fight. The sky has moved and the last one breaks every rule you have just learned. Number 9. The wall that counts solstices. Astronomically aligned gateways. Newark Hopewell Corridor, Ohio. Back to Ohio's Hopewell Earthwork Corridor, the one that now includes Newark, recently named to the World Heritage List, and to a single gap in a wall. It looks like a doorway. It's a calendar. Once a year, sunrise threads that opening exactly. And the more these gateways get surveyed, the clearer it gets that their bearings track the moon, not just the sun, specifically the lunar standstill. The 18.6-year cycle in which the moon's rising point drifts to its extremes and back. Sit with what that takes. To build a gateway to that cycle, you watch the sky patiently across nearly 2 decades. Catch the pattern, then set it in Earth. The alignments are peer-reviewed and confirmed. They built a machine you can only read by waiting years for the answer. Number 8. The Wall the Forest Ate, Overgrown Ridge Enclosure, Cumberland Plateau, Tennessee. You can stand on this wall and never know it's there. On the Cumberland Plateau, a low green ridge rises underfoot, and only if you truly look does it resolve into stacked stone under the roots and leaf litter. The forest reads as pure, untouched wilderness. That's the illusion. It's second growth, regrown over ground, once cleared, worked, and built on. The wild woods are a recovery, not a baseline. Which is the unsettling part. The emptiest looking landscape here is the most deliberately shaped. The reforestation is documented. The site condition is there to see, and together they flip the picture. The woods that look most empty of people hide the most careful human stone. Everything so far had a wall you could put a hand on. From here, the certainty thins. Dates that argue. Purposes still contested. Builders known by culture and not name. And number 1 resists even that. Number 7. The dates. That won't agree. Contested chronology enclosure, Appalachian, Ohio, and West Virginia. 2 labs, generations apart, same wall, and they still can't agree when it was built. In the zone where the Adena and Hopewell traditions overlap along the Ohio and West Virginia border, a core sample comes out, a radiocarbon printout comes back, and instead of settling the question, it widens it. The old assumption was clean. 1 wall, 1 period, 1 date. The radiocarbon spread says otherwise, scattering across a range wide enough to suggest the enclosure was reused, rebuilt, or added to over a long stretch of time. And the trouble compounds, because charcoal from an old hearth can date centuries before the stone above it was ever stacked, while a later fire built against the same wall can date centuries after. So the samples aren't just disagreeing, they may each be telling the truth about a different moment. This is a live scholarly debate, not that science has no idea, but two credible readings pulling against each other, both defensible, neither yet winning. The disagreement is real, and both camps hold serious evidence. The wall never moved. The timeline won't hold still. Number 6. The builders you can still ask. Cultural Continuity Site, Cherokee Homeland, Western North Carolina. The media keeps calling these builders unknown, but there are people an hour away you could ask. In Western North Carolina, near the Qualla boundary, ancient stonework sits within an easy drive of contemporary Cherokee cultural sites. The Eastern Band, living here now. Unknown often just means not asked. Back at number 12, a myth erased native authorship on purpose. This is where you'd start to undo that, by asking the people whose ancestors shaped this landscape and never left. But the honest version keeps its precision, and so do they. Cultural continuity is certain. Which specific group raised, which specific wall, though, is a different question. And it's one that careful Cherokee and archaeological voices alike often decline to answer cleanly. Because the evidence for any single wall frequently isn't there. Continuity is settled. Attribution, wall by wall, still often isn't. Number 5. The wall under the lake, Inundated enclosure. Tennessee Valley Authority Reservoir Zone. Tennessee Valley. One of these walls is underwater, and it was put there on purpose. Take a boat across a Tennessee Valley Authority reservoir in the Tennessee Valley, and you're floating over a hilltop that used to be a summit, an enclosure now reading as lake bottom. The lake sells itself as recreation, boat ramps, fishing, a postcard south. Underneath is a harder history. The great mid-century dam-building drowned land wholesale, covering both archaeological sites and living communities forced to move. Ahead of the rising water, salvage crews raced to record what they could, fast digs against a deadline measured in feet of reservoir. They didn't reach everything. Some sites went under unrecorded, their questions still attached. The flooding and the salvage effort are both well documented. The vacation lake has an older map on its floor, and part of it was never copied down. 3 walls left, and each one breaks a rule harder than the last. The sky has shifted, the record is closing, and the final wall sits where every rule you've learned says a fort cannot be. Number 4. The star that isn't there, precession-affected alignment. Ohio Valley earthwork. This wall aims, precisely, at a star that's no longer there. At a Hopewell alignment site in the Ohio Valley, sight down the line the builders left, and it points at a patch of empty sky. We assume alignments are fixed, that if a wall points at a star, it still does. It doesn't. Over 2,000 years, precession, the slow wobble of Earth's axis, drags the whole night sky through a long circle. The stars that rose over these walls at their building rise elsewhere now. A star that once cleared the horizon exactly where the wall points might, today, rise minutes off and degrees away, or climb a season out of step. So the empty patch you're looking at was once the busiest spot in their sky. So to recover what the builders meant, you can't just stand and look. You rewind 2 millennia of drift to find where the target used to be. And that reconstruction is only as good as your guess at the exact year they built. Precession is confirmed astronomy. The original target is careful reconstruction, not certainty. They aimed true. The universe is what drifted. Number 3. The wall running out of time. At-risk enclosure, Appalachian development, mining frontier. This wall may be gone before anyone understands it. On an unprotected ridge in an actively developing stretch of Appalachia, picture survey stakes in the ground, a bulldozer's cut line, an ancient stone sitting right between them. We assume heritage is permanent, that a thing this old has outlasted everything and always will. This site says otherwise. No protected status, no funding, no time on the clock. Development moves faster than the archaeology. That's the quiet emergency under this whole subject. The record isn't just incomplete. In places, it's actively closing. Sites lost before the questions can even be formed. The loss pattern is documented. This wall's fate is flagged as genuinely at risk. Some answers here will vanish before anyone asks the questions. Number 2. The fort that isn't a fort. Great Ceremonial Enclosure, Ohio Appalachian Plateau. The most fort-like wall of them all defended nothing, ever. A massive geometric earth and stone enclosure in the Ohio Valley. Named, mapped, walkable, the one everybody assumes was figured out long ago. Stand at its center and check the defensive assumptions one by one. No fighting ground position to matter. No water source for a siege. No houses, none of the daily life a defended settlement needs. Instead, geometry, precise and enormous, and alignment, and a scale of labor that only makes sense if the point was to gather, observe, believe. Every defensive reading fails on inspection, and here the consensus is unusually firm. The evidence says ceremony, and archaeologists agree. That single word, fort, turned an astronomical, communal work into a guardhouse in the public mind, exactly as it did at number 17. The rare thing about this wall is that we can say what it wasn't. The one still ahead, we can't. Number 1. The wall with no reason. Anomalous lowland enclosure, Appalachian Valley floor. Virginia. Every rule you just learned says forts sit high, hilltops, bluffs, defensible necks of land. This wall sits on none of it. In a Virginia valley, stone is laid deliberately across flat, open lowland. A level floor with the ridges standing back at a distance. No bluff, no bend of river drawn up close, just ground a wagon could roll across in any direction. Picture the least dramatic field you've ever crossed, and then picture someone hauling and setting stone across it on purpose. Walk it as 3 different people, and each one turns away. A farmer sees fertile, flat bottomland and wants it cleared, not walled. The stone is in the way of the plow, not protecting anything. A defender climbs it looking for the advantage and finds none. Nothing to hold, nothing to see over, every approach equally open. A position you'd have to be forced into, never choose. And a priest looking for the reason all the ceremonial sites shared. The solstice gateway, the alignment to a risen star, the high place where earth meets sky, finds the horizon boxed in by ridges and no clean sightline to anything. High ground rejects it. Ceremony can't claim it. The plow wants it gone, so the interpretation openly fails. Maybe it's ceremonial in some way we can't read, maybe a gathering place, maybe something we simply have no category for, and that's the real point. When a site violates the pattern this cleanly, the honest answer isn't to force it into a box. It's to admit the box was ours all along. The anomaly is real. The interpretation is genuinely incomplete. This is the wall the settler's word breaks on hardest, the one that, after 2 centuries, still won't say what it was for. So the forts were never forts, and the strangest of them still won't say what they actually were. What's left unexplained here isn't withheld for effect or dressed up for a video. It's real, just not yet known. If you want the rest of it, the walls, mounds, and stone sites this video did not have room for, they are gathered in the Appalachian Mysteries collection, linked below. Comment with a wall, mound, ridge, or overlooked stone site near you that outsiders drive past and locals have quietly watched for generations. And subscribe if you want the map most travel channels skip.